Hello, Rough Rider Nation. Welcome to the Rider Report, the ins and outs of Yavapai College athletics. I'm Brad Clifford. I'm the athletic director at Yavapai College. Today I'm joined by Zach Shaver, our head women's volleyball coach. Zach, welcome to the program today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, Zach, you just finished your fourth season at the helm of the Lady Spikers, and you've really made your mark on the volleyball program. This last year, we had a really good year. We finished, again, your fourth season, the second consecutive year that you led the ladies to the NJCAA Region 1 Finals, playoffs. I know we wanted to go a little bit further, but it was a good season nonetheless.
It was a solid season. We look back, we actually challenged ourselves scheduling-wise. We played quite a few top 20 teams, and I believe 4 or 5 of the teams that we played that we lost to were at the National Championship Tournament and did very well. And there were actually 2 teams at the National Championship Tournament that we actually beat this year. So, we were one step away from accomplishing our ultimate goal of returning to the National Championship Tournament. But overall, it was a very solid season.
Now, it was a season of streaks. You guys went on streaks. You went on winning streaks. You had a little losing streak there in the middle, but then you got back on track. So, athletics are a game of streaks, and you seem to have a few this year.
Yeah, a lot of that had to do, again, with the scheduling. Part of that's out of our control, the conference schedule. But where we scheduled some really tough matches for ourselves when we went up to College of Southern Idaho, which were the defending national champions, and we played Salt Lake City and Northwest and CSI, and we had the 2 best conference teams in that stretch also of Arizona Western back-to-back on a Friday, Saturday, and Glendale. So we were very happy with the fact that at the end of the season, the only teams that we lost to were either nationally ranked or just above us in the conference standing. So we didn't feel like we dropped any matches that, looking back, we shouldn't have lost.
Now, we beat Eastern Arizona 3 times during the regular season, and as you and I have talked before, and as everybody probably knows, it's tough to beat teams 4 times in a season, especially good teams. And unfortunately, we were so close. They just played probably 1 or 2 points better than us in that final match.
Yeah, it's very tough to know a team going on past you in the postseason that you're 3-1 against on the season, that your only loss was in the playoffs, but. We talk about it, it's very tough to beat a team even 3 times, let alone 4 times in one season. So, and we were obviously equally matched teams. The fact that when we were at their place and won 2 of those matches, both of those went to 5 sets. So statistically, the odds were in their favor. But as we wrapped up our season with our players, one thing I mentioned to them was I didn't feel like we fell apart or we didn't execute well. I felt like they just stepped it up and were a little bit better in that Game 5 than they had been all year. Credited to their sophomores who were very hungry to make it to the national championship tournament. So,
well, and speaking of sophomores, we had 4 sophomores this year, and in junior college athletics, sophomores play an integral part in the makeup of a team. And talk to us about those 4 sophomores. You've had them for 2 years. That's your first recruiting sophomores, I think, class. And tell me about the 4 sophomores and what they meant to the team and to the program in the last couple of years.
And that's one thing that I'm adjusting to at junior college now versus a 4-year program is only really having the time with those athletes for 2 years. And as a fall sport, in some ways, it's really only a year and a half if they're moving on early. So, but all 4 of them have done a lot for our program and this year. Starting off with Cassidy Pomeroy, who was our right side hitter, also a team captain, very good at leading the team in the right direction on and off the court. Always very fiery and was always ready to come into matches and play when called upon and did a great job making our other right side hitter, Caitlin Yost, who was a freshman, better every day. Brianna Grunig, who was an outside hitter, tough job for her. We transitioned her from middle blocker to outside hitter as she came here to Yavapai. She did a very good job also. There were some key moments where she came in this year and really picked us up and gave us a spark and helped us on some complete some matches on some winning streaks. And then the other 2 who've played quite a bit, Jordan Tilley, our setter, who was the conference setter of the year this year. First time we've had that award in the conference. So it's kind of nice to be able to say that Yavapai had the first ever ACC setter of the year in 2016. And then Eva Alibich, who was an All-American second team her freshman year, also had a very good year this year statistically and played in almost every match, every point. We definitely wouldn't have accomplished what we've done the last 2 years getting into the postseason and going far without those 2 being on the court as much as they have.
No question, and of course last year Eva was an All-American. She had a very good year this year. She's an all-conference player, first-team all-conference. Jordan Tilley's first-team all-conference. You mentioned setter of the year. I really think, and this is my personal, maybe it's biased, but because she's the Yavapai player, I thought she should have been an All-American. I thought she was worthy of that. I thought she had a great year. But that's how the story goes, right?
Yeah, one thing as a conference, we see the players regularly, so when coaches vote, they're voting on their body of work. They're not just looking at statistics. When I vote for all conference, I really look at who would I have wanted on our team or who was the hardest to stop on their team, who was the number one person in our scouting report. And so I know Jordan and Eva were both that for a lot of our conference opponents. But unfortunately, when it goes on to the national level, they're really just looking at statistics. And because we struggled a little bit offensively at times in those losing streaks against those top 20 teams, that brought Jordan's statistics down just a little bit. So it's really competitive at the setting level. When you look at All-Americans, there's usually, they narrow it down to 3 or 4 out of all the setters in the country, and then they've got to decide. And usually there's only one or two that make All-American. So.
Well, in our book, she's still an All-American, and so is Eva, and we did have a good group of sophomores, and we're going to be excited to see what they do after this. Speaking of recruiting, or we're going to speak of recruiting, how about that? Yeah. How's it going?
It's going well. Kind of a unique circumstance this year. We try to recruit one international player each year. We got in touch with Ninka DeVries early in the recruiting process, and as we were talking, actually on Skype with her and her parents, it just kind of came a mention. She said, well, I'm actually going to be in Arizona in August. Would you like me to come visit? And so, like I said, I came to you and talked and said, we've never had an international recruit that we've actually been able to have to campus and get to practice with our team for a couple hours and stuff. So not only did we like who she was in the normal recruiting process, but the fact that she came in, played with our players, and we got to know her and her family well, was just made it a lot easier to make that decision, because it is tough to pull the trigger and offer a position to somebody you've never met before at the international level. So we think Nika's going to come in and do a great job offensively, and just kind of anchor that outside position and kind of be our go-to hitter once she gets comfortable with the style of play here. And then we also have a right side hitter, pretty dominant attacker out of Flagstaff, Arizona, from Coconino High School, in Audrey Reese. Audrey came to our camp this summer, and that's where we kind of noticed her first. Is really going to challenge Caitlin Yost on the right side next year, so we're excited about those two. And then right now, we're out there looking to replace Jordan as our setter. We've got to bring in another setter, so we're looking at a lot of quality recruits. But recruiting season really gets going for us in mid-January to mid-March, so we feel like we're in good shape. We've signed 2 out of the 4 that we need, and we just got to go find those next couple of positions and feel confident that the success the last couple of years is bringing more top recruits our way, so we're happy about that.
Well, and in college athletics, of course, recruiting is the name of the game, and it's a 24-hour, 365-day a year job, and that's obviously going to continue. And finding that special player, especially that setter position, that point guard position that you need, is truly a find that you have to have. Okay, in 2015, you led us to the first ever Region 1 District C title, earning a trip to the national tournament. First time ever for Yavapai College, which is quite a feat, and especially in our conference, because it's a very good conference. Tell us about that experience of getting to the national tournament and what it means to the program.
I think it really started about 7 or 8 months before that. That group of sophomores, late in their freshman year, which a lot of them are off playing at 4-year schools now, they just got it in their heads and in us as a program that we are going to the next level. We are going to the national championship tournament this coming year. And so they did all the work necessary, and we trained hard, and we did a lot of strength and conditioning, and they did that. And as a program, now we're able to say that's our expectations. That's where we plan to be every year. It's great to have lofty goals. Every once in a while, you're going to fall a little bit short of that, like this year. But our reasonable expectation is to be in the hunt for that district championship and go to the national tournament. So it's pressure that it's our players and our coaching staff now has to deal with, but it's good pressure to know that we're a successful program and the expectations are to be in the playoffs almost every year.
That's a good position to be in as a program, and I think we expect that throughout the department. But you've really brought the level up in the volleyball program. So we're like I said, you're a great asset to the program, into the volleyball position. Thus far, you've had a successful start. You've been here 4 years. To your tenure here at Yavapai, you have the second highest winning percentage of any volleyball coach we've had here, which is quite a feat. You were named the 2015 NJCAA District C Coach of the Year. I know you put an emphasis on academics. Your kids are always high academically. We've won awards for that across the country. Share with the Rough Rider Nation here a little bit about your maybe your secrets to success. What kind of leadership skills that you can share with us?
Well, it's actually pretty simple. We just talk to our players early on, even in the recruiting process when they come and sit in the office with us and their parents, that we want to be the best in everything we do, not just on the volleyball court and in the gym. We talk about doing community service to help out people in our local community and even at the national level with some of the fundraising we do for breast cancer awareness. But most importantly is academics. They're here to be students first, and we really do talk to them about you're a student athlete, not an athlete student. So we look at all three, actually 4 phases of their life is community service, athletics, academics, and then also social responsibility. We want them to be good citizens as they leave Yavapai and start to understand what being a productive member of the community is. So we say all 4 of those areas, we want to be the best, not only here at Yavapai College, but hopefully contending along the national level. So we're really pushing this year for some national recognition as far as the AVCA all academic team, which means a 3.3 GPA for our overall team. And I think we're going to be very close to that. And I believe there's only about 8 to 10 junior colleges in the country that achieved that last year. So hopefully at the end of this academic year, we're able to put our name on that list.
That's a good list to be on. And also we've had obviously in the last 4 years a couple of kids on the academic All-American team, NJCAA. So we do a very good job as far as academics go, especially in the volleyball program. You mentioned the breast cancer awareness game with Embry-Riddle. You've done it now for 4 years. Tell us a little bit let's talk numbers. How much money has been raised because of that?
So we're pushing now close to $20,000
Wow.
over the 4-year period. We've averaged a little over $4,000 each year. Our goal this year, we're not sure if we're there yet or not, was to reach $5,000 this year. I think we're going to be very close to that. And if we didn't, then we're really going to figure out a couple little extra things to do next year to raise that up as we continue this tradition with Embry-Riddle, which I think Coach Blazik and I sat down when I first got here, and a lot of this was her idea about keeping it local. And, you know, I had the idea of coming up with the crosstown battle, and it was great that both teams are battling against breast cancer. So unfortunately, it's something that's touched the lives of too many people nowadays, myself included, with my family. So it's great that our players have an outlet to go out there and raise money, and it also kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off of that crosstown rivalry because we're more focused on the bigger picture of that event, not just focus on us playing Embry-Riddle every time we get to that point of the year.
Now, you mentioned the money stays locally. It goes out to the Breast Cancer Center out in Prescott Valley.
Correct.
They've been very appreciative of that. We're going to do it this next year. Do we know dates? And
we don't yet. Coach Blazik and I have to sit down, and it's really tough to get our schedules to coordinate, but we will find a way. This year it was great. This was the first time we were actually able to do it in October, in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So hopefully we can do that again next year. But there's a lot of factors that go into, and usually one or both of us have to do some rescheduling with some conference opponents to make it happen. But it is a big priority for both of us, so we will find a way to come up with a common date that's beneficial for both teams.
No, it's a great event, a wonderful event you do. All right, let's talk about your playing days. I did some research, some
Okay.
extensive research on your playing days. I talked to the boss actually, and she mentioned that you were a setter, kind of the point guard for the team. So tell us about your experience, your college playing days.
Actually just kind of fell into that position. You know, I started the sport of volleyball late, not really until my senior year of high school, and wasn't even playing organized at that point. I was a soccer player and some baseball, you know, growing up, and thought I was going collegiately to play soccer, and then all of a sudden kind of changed my mind at the last minute. And as I fell into volleyball, I was a decent hitter, but setting just kind of came naturally for whatever reason. I don't know if it was kind of the old days as a goaltender and, you know, goalkeeper and having my hands on the ball more, but once I started to fine-tune the skills of setting, the position itself just felt very natural. I liked making the decisions, being in control of the offense, but more importantly, just delivering a ball to hitters and seeing what they could do with it and being able to have that relationship with hitters that they knew, hey, if you didn't give me such a set, I couldn't hit that ball that hard. And so that fun relationship, and that really led to a lot of doubles. In Northern California, there's a lot of volleyball doubles outdoor tournaments, and so I was able to play with some hitters and partners that were much higher level than I was, mostly because I was a good setter. And so every great hitter wants to play with somebody that can get them the ball. So that relationship was fun, and I still keep in touch with a lot of those people regularly.
So, needless to say, setting a setter on our team, our volleyball team, is probably a high priority for you.
Yes. One thing is I talk to recruits that I tell all of our potential setters is, I was a setter when I played. I've always worked with the setting. I've always been the setting coach when I was an assistant coach. And as a head coach, I still work with our setters daily. And so one thing that I tell them is when it comes to the setting position, I have eyes on the back of my head, on the side of my head. So I might be on one side of the gym working with the middles, and you might be all the way on the other side of the gym with somebody else working on something. And if you make a mistake, I'm going to see it and I'm going to let you know about it. So I tell them ahead of time, you're going to be critiqued and probably criticized a lot more than as a setter than most coaches would, but you're also going to receive the praise when you deserve it because I know how hard that position is. It's
a quarterback position. It's a point guard position that they're the extension of the coach, no question. So, well, Zach, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being here. Rough Rider Nation, be sure to follow us on www.goroughriders.com, which Zach's other duties include keeping that up to date, which he does a great job with that, a wonderful website. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We are out there. Rough Rider Nation, we thank you for coming, and go Rough Riders.